Hey guys, Aaron here. I have a new custom traditional knife to show you today. Over the last couple of years, I have become an increasingly enthusiastic fan of traditional folders. I've owned knives from makers like Todd Davidson, Jared Oser, Enrique Pena, and people like that. Through these experiences, I have really honed my preferences for these knives. But before we get into that, let's talk about Enrique for a second. Enrique Pena is a knife maker based out of Laredo, Texas. He first started making knives as a child out of files and whatnot. And then in 2006 he approached it again as an adult. He asked Bill Rupel and Rusty Preston to kind of guide him into this and sort of teach him. And both of these guys contributed significantly to his progression as a knife maker. He has recently gone full time, and he is receiving a lot of notoriety for making traditional knives with titanium handles. You probably saw some of his knives that had full jigged titanium or something like that, or a full bolster or something along those lines. He did that jigging by hand with a Dremel, and he also worked with like screw together construction, like you can see here, where he used torque screws to put the knives together instead of pins. He was working to stretch boundaries at that time. Like he was looking at using new materials and new methods to construct things. Several knife makers have since adopted these methods, using full titanium, using screw together construction. I know that Jared Oser has recently picked it up as well. I'm not sure if Pena was the first to do either one of these methods, but he was very pivotal in making them popular with makers these days. So most collectors that I know kind of cut their teeth with their custom knife collections on larger locking knives, and they feel undergunned with smaller traditional folders like this, or smaller than this really. And Enrique builds his knives in larger sizes with really substantial feeling handles, and they really fill that bill when it comes to carrying a single traditional knife. You'll rarely feel undergunned with a Pena. So a little bit about this knife. This is a Zulu spear, and this was a pattern first popularized by Tony Bose years ago, and has been widely adopted by custom traditional makers over the years. Next to probably the Lanny's clip, it is one of the most famous slip joint patterns out there. So let's get some specs out of the way. Here we're looking at a 3-inch blade with a 7¼ inch overall. It weighs 4 ounces, and the blade steel is CPM 154. So speaking of this beautiful blade, this is the Zulu spear, like I said before, and it is a high hollow ground blade, kind of spear point drop pointy style, and it has a full length swedge there along the top. The swedge starts way back here. You can see it starts right there. Enrique leaves a coarse belt finish on most of his knives, and I just think it is super cool to look at. It really just adds a lot of definition to it. If you catch it in the light just right, it traps colors in there, and it's pretty neat. This is a knife that was designed for piercing and slicing, and it does both of those tasks without thinking twice. So, and as I said before, the blade steel is CPM 154. That's really a known quantity by now in the knife community. If you ask me, I think that CPM 154 performs adequately. It doesn't do anything that's going to blow your mind, but it's good stuff. If you ask me what my choice would be, I would love to see a maker that made a traditional knife like this out of like 3V or M390 or something like that. Put a super steel in these knives. 3V is one of my favorite steels to sharpen. I love the way that it sharpens. I love the edge that it can take. And so, slip joints are meant to be just like little folding lightsabers. Like, let's put 3V in one of these things, please. That would be amazing. Ergonomically, traditionals are pretty simplistic. There's rarely any jimping or any finger choils. However, they are really cleverly designed to be comfortable in hand. The Zulu spear handle here thickens as you move to the back of it. And it also begins to incorporate kind of a negative angle coming down. That creates a really nice purchase for your pinky and your ring finger there and locks the knife into your grip as you're holding and using it. You can see that nice little palm swell, just really great. The whole frame on this knife is, whoops, bumped the camera, is nicely contoured. You can see that contouring there. And there are no real hot spots to speak of on this knife. One of my pet peeves in a traditional folder is sharp edges on the liners there. So if you can move your finger across that and it catches, that really bothers me. But he has broken that edge really, really nicely. It gives you a nice crisp line, but it's not one that's going to catch your skin. It's really it's pretty great. The action on this knife walks and talks like the best of them. So for those of you that aren't familiar, the walk is the smoothness of the blade traveling against the spring. Smoothness of the action is another way of thinking about it. And the talk is kind of the subjective quality of the sound as the knife snaps into its different positions. And Enrique really has that dialed in. This knife has a solid pull of like a 6 out of 10. Great centering. It snaps open with authority. There's not much else to say about this Pena other than it's just real good. So kind of to conclude this, I'm super excited about this knife. Since I received it, it's been in my pocket. I carry it in a little leather carrier with a flashlight. It pairs really well with a larger locking folder, or I'll carry it all by itself. I've really been getting into slip joints. They eliminate my handedness problem. I'm left-handed. I don't need to make any special orders. Penas are one of the pinnacles in traditional knives, I think. Of course, there are other equal knives and knife makers out there, but Enrique has taken classically tactical to its zenith. I think he's taking these traditional patterns that have history and a lot of, feelings and stuff about them. He's putting modern materials on them, and he's just making them awesome. If you get the chance, and there are actually quite a few if you're quick, to get one, I highly suggest it. If you follow him on Instagram, and I'll post a link to his Instagram account in the description, he posts knives for sale on his web store, and you just go buy them. Maybe once a week, maybe a couple times a month, but he will put the notification out there on Instagram, and you just go and you just be the first, and you snag it, you pay, and it's all good. It's all yours. He ships it to you. He ships it to you overnight. So I'll link his website and his web store and his Instagram in the description for you to grab one. And as always, guys, this channel is supported by Blade HQ. If you're looking for any sort of knife business whatsoever, head over there. There's a link in the description. If you use my link and you purchase something awesome, you help me to continue to bring you awesome videos like this. I really appreciate your views, and I am really looking forward to hearing your comments. All right, guys, see you later.